This is just another foreclosure clarity moment. After one payment was missed, my mailbox began to be flooded with modification documents. Now, interestingly, something that stood out to me was that the person not on the loan, but on the deed, was getting modification documents addressed to them just as the person who was on the loan. So this was interesting, right? How was the person not on the loan getting a loan modification document? Interesting. So, again, this is after 1 month of a missed payment, okay? This is how if you go back to the previous foreclosure clarity moment, then you understand what I'm saying. They already knew that this property was the target of a plucking. That's what I'm calling it, a plucking. As I said before, there's a cooperation among entities that get this done. Now, another entity that gets thrown into the cooperation pot is your HOA, if you have one. They are absolutely in the know as well. They know who's targeted. They know what their role is, okay? So one payment was missed, and the flood of mail comes in, and after a few payments, here comes the attorney. He was already in the wings waiting. He was already ready to go. He comes in, he starts making demands. Now, in my situation, every correspondence was met with a response. So I did not ignore anything, not from the lender, not from the attorney. They were replied to, but typically what you request from these entities, they're going to ignore. It's like they put on their bully suit and it's bully time. You owe us this money, you owe us this money. And when you understand debt collection, contracts, things like that, you understand the game that's being played when it comes to the lender and the attorney. It's a game. It really is. And not gonna hold anything back here, it can feel overwhelming. Because then you have the added cooperation of a distressed property realtor showing up uninvited. Okay, so again, these are a lot of cooperating entities working together. Some in the know. I think most are in the know. A few may not know exactly what role they're playing, but they're playing it regardless. So because you're on a list, right, it's already known, hey, we're coming to get this property. When you go to the county recorder and you're making your own record, right, you're going to get the pushback. But it doesn't mean you can't get it done. You just have to stand your ground. Most people don't know about accepting their deed. It's almost like you never actually had the property if you never accepted the deed. So literally in the 11th hour, the deed to the property was accepted after getting much pushback. And then right after that, the attorney does their foreclosure steps like substitution of trustee. Now, there are certain rules that's supposed to go along with a so-called substitution of trustee, which were not followed in my situation. Because I was doing the footwork, I was following up. I even got a title search on my property. This is how I saw all of these documents that were questionable. And this is how I come to the conclusion that there is a cooperation among entities to make this happen. It didn't stop me from making my record, because when there is activity that is against the law going on, in some instances there's no statute of limitations on that. So I continue to make my record. Now, with making the record, it did not stop the entities from doing what they were doing. They kept pushing forward, but I kept pushing forward as well. So again, the point of a non-judicial foreclosure is to go through different administrative processes to get you out of your home. I had a weird incident with the homeowners association where they claimed we were late paying a utility, let's say like that, and they shut the utility off. But we got it turned right back on. But this was because they already knew, and this is in hindsight for me, because once I got my title search back, I realized that what the HOA did in shutting off a utility lined up with a document being recorded on the record for my property by the so-called debt collector / attorney / law firm. So that coincided. This is how I come up with they're all cooperating with each other. This is all how they do it. Their goal is to keep it out of the court this is just more of my evidence personally of how I know that they definitely had the property lined up to be foreclosed. If you have no clue about the law, your rights, you're basically giving them the okay to do what they're doing. And that's pretty much what's happening. I could definitely say in my foreclosure clarity, I could have done things in a better order to effect a better result. But I didn't allow fear tactics to stop me from moving forward. I continued to stand on what I knew. And the longer I stood, the more I understood the game that was being played. So, like I said, this isn't about missed payments. This is about you not knowing how to handle your affairs. And it's like a bet where they are basically saying, well, let's see if we can get this one. And a lot of times they're successful. So they're a little bit caught off guard with someone who the bet doesn't work on. So I'm going to stop it here. This is just another foreclosure clarity moment. My own experience, not legal advice, not financial advice, anything. Just clarity. If you're going through this and something doesn't feel right, you're fighting, there's so much that's possible when you stand your ground. And it can be overwhelming because, again, this is an effort of cooperation. If you give them a foothold to believe that they have the right to tell you and you don't assert your right, then they're going to take it. And that's just pretty much how the game is played. So again, that's it for this foreclosure clarity moment.